Vaporwave. It's a term I'm sure you've all encountered at some point in the past few years or so. But what exactly is it? Vaporwave is a design movement that spans across many forms of media, including music, television, film, video games, and, our focus for today, graphic design. As a subgenre of the cyberpunk movement, it has strong themes of futurism, but tends to deviate from the dystopian vibes inherent with the style. But before I can get into any of that, we need to talk about ontology. Ontology is a political philosophical idea regarding the echoes of lost futures that continue to penetrate our modern-day lives. The term was coined by the Algerian-born French philosopher Jacques Derrida in his 1993 book Spectres of Marx, where he discussed, albeit with a pessimistic outlook, what was seen by many as the end of communism at the conclusion of the Cold War. However, he saw that the collapse of the Soviet state would not silence communist ideals or cause the demands for justice that inherently come with the emancipatory politics to simply go away. So, whilst the majority of people expected the fall of communism to bring about a new era of world peace, spreading the wonders of democracy to every corner of the world, this simply wasn't the case. This is the principle of ontology, the echoes of a future that never came to pass. Now that we know about the principles of ontology, how does this relate to Vaporwave? Well, one of the biggest design inspirations for the genre is cassette futurism, a style that latches onto the outdated analog technologies of the later 20th century and thrusts them into a futuristic environment. Take the interior of the TARDIS from early Doctor Who episodes, for example. Look at those angular edges on smooth brushed steel, all of the orderly knobs and buttons, flashing lights and CRT monitors. This is how people expected the future to look at the time, and as such have since clung onto the aesthetic as modern technology continues down the path of 21st century normality with minimal design innovation. So why exactly does this genre make us feel nostalgic for the bygone eras of the 70s and 80s? For those of us born in the 90s onwards, none of us were able to experience anything that these decades had to offer at the time, besides those bits of pop culture and art that were able to be maintained and celebrated well into our present day. But whilst the pop culture fixtures tend to be the aspects people focus on, the base concept of vaporwave imagery will always be a growing sense of despondency in modern society, and an increasing subconscious acceptance of the idea that there was no alternative to capitalism. The English writer and cultural theorist Mark Fisher had a fascination with humanity's inability to conceptualize a future that was otherworldly. To Fisher, the rise of nostalgia signaled a deep yearning for hope that we could only satisfy by returning to a point in the past, and attempts to return to a point in history that had a more optimistic view of the future. So we've discussed the origins of the genre and the core ideals behind it. Now let's get on to the good stuff. The design styles and media embodiments of Vaporwave. I know that to most people, Vaporwave equates to nothing more than some pretty good electronic music. But it's so much more than that. We'll start off with design choices. Most Vaporwave media makes use of pink and light blue colour schemes, dashes of purple and some yellow and orange glows. Grid patterns are extremely common, as well as images of setting suns with dashed patterns enveloping the lower, upper, or whole shape. Japanese text is also very prominent in media, often translated to generic terms such as love, hope, and tranquility. By now I'm sure you've already probably caught on to this, considering I've been showing this very imagery to you this whole time, but I digress. Greek statues are also quite a common commodity in Vaporwave design, but this bust of the Greek sun god Helios being the most recognisable of all. Now, I simply can't leave off today without discussing the most popular embodiment of the Vaporwave genre, the music. What you are listening to now is perhaps the most famous example of the Vaporwave music sect, a song with a title that roughly translates to Modern Computer from the album Floral Shop by artist Vectroid under the one-time alias of Macintosh Plus, though the song is often simply referred to as Macintosh Plus. Sounds good, right? Well, what if I told you it is simply the song It's Your Move by Diana Ross slowed down by 30%? That's all it takes to make a vaporwave hit. However, to say the genre is lazy and unoriginal would be ignorant, as most songs use handcrafted synths and a whole lot of reverb. This music is almost always accompanied by imagery, the likes of which I've stated before, leading to a calm atmosphere that really nails in the melancholy vibes artists go for. In fact, a lot of sound designers inspired by the likes of John Carpenter, the director and composer of popular horror movies of yesteryear, like The Thing, Halloween, and The Fog. Every aspect, no matter how psychedelic in its presentation, comes together to form something peaceful, unusually nostalgic, or in some cases just downright depressing. At its core, vaporwave has always been an expression of human frustration with the current direction of modern society, yearning for days where dreams of a more idealistic future were the norm. It's an expression of something that exists at the core of the human experience, and maybe sometime in the future, we'll all look back and realize just how fundamental it was to the next stage of human psychological development.